Welcome to the Fitz Report. I'm editorial cartoonist Dave Fitzsimmons, and with me today is my guest, Councilman Steve Kozachik, for part 2 of our stunning interview. And first, I want to give you this caricature as a keepsake for coming on the program, where I've drawn you running.
I do that.
You do like
every
to
morning.
run. Why do you like to run?
It centers me first thing out of bed. I've done it for 30-something odd years.
Wow.
Missed a couple days or here and there, but yeah.
Wow. You don't run enough because you could really stand to lose a lot of weight.
Yeah, you know, most people don't know this, but I was in a halftime show at McHale Center as a sumo wrestler one time, so I have, and that's a true story.
I believe you.
So
let's talk about the budgets.
Oh, that's fun stuff.
Speaking of sumo wrestler, now here's the city budget.
It is.
The city's going to spend in the coming fiscal year $1.265 billion.
And the sad thing is that not enough of that is your money because the star doesn't pay you enough. But if they give you a raise, we'd take more of it.
I would.
Yeah.
I would.
I'm sure you donate.
That's the kind of commie pinko I am.
Yeah.
You have some objections to the budget,
mm-hmm.
and I have them right here. We got. You say that it's new debt.
We're taking on new debt. Our clerk has told us he cannot run a mayoral election next year with the equipment that he has, and so we said instead of buying it, we'll just borrow $1 million.
Nice. And layoffs?
Layoffs, we have about 92 people or positions that we're not filling.
Are any of them your constituents?
These are city employees, so they might be.
But you don't know for sure, because if they are, like, who cares?
Yeah. Well, I care. And, you know, and that matters, and we're talking about people's livelihoods.
Reduce services?
As you lay people off, you have fewer people to provide the services of the community. It's intuitive.
And the city gave out pay increases.
We gave about an $8 million pay increase.
You're not happy with that,
year.
are you, Ebenezer?
No, I'm not. You know, because we can't afford it. When we have a $33 million deficit, I think that the last thing you do is give people pay increases.
One-time fixes of selling land. I like that one.
Yeah, so you use that to fund a budget deficit, and you still have the rest of your costs going forward. You spent the money.
When you point this out, do your colleagues kind of roll their eyes?
It has a tremendous impact on them. I continually lose 6-1 votes. They're really impressed with my thought process.
They're just sighing. Oh, him again. The kid who does his homework. He's so annoying in this classroom.
It's generally something along the lines of, you're just going to vote no anyway. Why bother us with the facts?
Why bother?
Yeah.
The sick leave sellback policy.
Wonderful.
I kind of like that one. That's a great policy.
It's a wonderful policy. The police and fire have it so that if you don't get sick for an entire year, you can sell that time back. It cost us $2.5 million last year and the year before. Yeah.
$2.5 million?
But the real nice part about it, though, is that you can also violate state law by using it to spike your pension. And so you can sell your sick leave back, and for instance, if you're the chief of police, Who
is the chief of police?
Roberto Villasenor, and I'm on Villalsenor. And so I am on his Facebook like list, I understand.
I saw that, yeah.
So he gets $160,000 a year, and for the last 3 years, he has spiked his pension by nearly $50,000 combined.
Now, I would think that all good citizens of this town would be very concerned about the issue of pensions, particularly public pensions, like their pension.
As they should, but it's not just the non-public employees who are, the public employees ought to be concerned about it, because if we don't get our arms around the fiscal health of the pension system, the new employees aren't going to have it when they retire 20 years from now.
I'm going to assume that you actually believe it's possible to get our arms around solving these issues.
Well, I do.
Paying our bills.
I do, or I wouldn't be wasting my time doing this. Yeah, and I think they're fundamentally important issues. You aren't delusional. I might be, but don't tell me if you recognize that, because I'd like to live in that delusion for as long as possible.
Well, I have a solution to the pension problem. Encourage city employees to die before they retire.
That could work, but then you've got the whole issue of their beneficiaries and their spouses, and so you had to take whole families out of it at one time. That too.
I want to skip over to what I think is a wonderful program. Tell me about Project RAISE.
Every acronym needs a meaning. So RAISE is Responsible Alternatives to Incarceration for the Sexually Exploited. Got it?
Got it.
So when I started doing budget stuff 3-4 years ago, I recognized that one of the things we were doing is we were selling first-time offender prostitutes to jail, doing nothing good for them, costing the city money. And so I worked with the courts, the prosecutors, and some of the service providers in the community to say, instead of sending them to jail, let's offer them diversion. And that's what Project RAISE is.
Have you had any successes?
Actually, we did a Project RAISE last month, and one woman who we had to take in for treatment, for medical treatment that night, is turned turning her life around. Another has moved home with her parents to get her life turned around. So yeah, it really is successful.
That's a good news story. I don't know why I even asked you about it.
Yeah, it
because
really
I can't stand good
it
news.
ruins your whole shtick, doesn't
Really,
it?
yeah, it does really.
Yeah.
Let's talk about A10s.
Okay, we can do that.
For them or against them?
I would hope that they get saved, but in fact, driving over here, I was speaking to a lobbyist in D.C., and he said they're probably not long for this life. DM's an important asset to this community, but quite frankly, I think we need to focus on something other than what the DoD has already said is a non-starter for here, and that's the F-35. Let's look at expanding the mission of the Boneyard. Let's talk about the
Zeppelins.
Zeppelins.
Zeppelin
In fact,
fleet.
you know what? True statement. He referred to the A-10 as Zeppelins.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, at the lobbyist. And so he
So
said,
it's equivalent to the Zeppelin.
don't count on them for long.
Oh, man, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, but DM's a significant issue to the community, and so to the extent that we can find unmanned operations, we can find an air operations center, which is a big air traffic control center that we put $25 million into already.
Right.
Let's preserve the things that make sense for a military base that's already suffering from encroachment issues, and try and preserve it for as long as we can.
Let's jump to another topic, the Ronstadt Center, which I and a lot of my friends who are downtowners think, my God, that thing's got to go.
No, it's not going to go because we're responsible to the federal government who funded that piece of ground to make sure it's a transit center
So
in
it's a
perpetuity.
keeper
It's a
on that
keeper
site.
on that site. But what we can do is put out a request for proposals and see what we can develop around it. I think it can be a win for everybody. You put retail development on the Congress Street face of it and move the transit function back a little bit to the north, and everyone wins.
Everyone wins?
Everybody
What
wins.
are you thinking, man?
I know it. You know, again, we get back to the delusional
Wow. I feel like
element.
everything wins. How about the Hotel Arizona? I think that would make a great county prison.
Maybe we could move it to the Ronstadt Center, and then the people waiting for buses would have free rooms to stay in. Now, Hotel Arizona is a challenge, and that is because the owner of it has got serious tax obligations, and so
Yes,
he can't just knock it down.
Right.
I'd love to encourage him to do something with it. It's a blight on the middle of the downtown core. Dave, we're seeing a lot of progress down there, and that's one of the things I'm the most proud of after having taken over this gig. And in the wake of the Hine Trace-Off era, we now have a situation where I have a hotel going in, a grocery store going in, retail, a lot of activity downtown, and it's progress.
Yeah, it
and
seems to be growing on a steady trajectory.
it is, but here's the difference: is we're not trying to swing for the fence; we're hitting singles and doubles, and that's what's been the game changer.
Oh, that is more good news, and this is really getting disturbing.
I know.
Let's talk about guns. That's always fun, because I get lots of hate mail over guns, because I always argue a fairly moderate position. So I imagine you receive equal loathing.
I do, and you know what? But here's the deal:
What are you, afraid of guns?
I own guns.
And you call yourself a real man. Squirt guns, I assume. Nerf guns?
No, they actually shoot real live bullets.
Yeah.
Here's the deal,
I've
though.
gone to the range before myself. Do you go to the range?
No, I haven't. I've got them hidden away so nobody can break into the home and steal them.
Smart man.
But no, the deal is this, though, that this community of all communities understands the carnage. And so we have, at the council level, adopted a background check requirement. We've adopted an ordinance that says if you lose or someone steals your gun, let the police know. I think those are fairly intuitive and benign ordinances.
You just want to take away our guns, don't you?
Well, that's what the emails say. And you know, it's a tough issue because you can't have a serious, responsible conversation about it with people just losing their cookies over it. But we're going to keep pushing at it.
I think that's very brave and wonderfully foolhardy.
In this state, with our legislature that refused to adopt a piece of legislation last year that said if you were the parent of a 4 or 5 year old kid and that kid gets a hold of your gun and shoots a friend, that's okay. They said we're not going to do anything about that. I think that's stupid, and we need to deal with that.
Right. The only gun proposal I heard that I really agreed with was a state senator suggested it would be okay to introduce firearms into both the Senate and the House in Arizona. And I thought that'd be a great idea because natural selection would take effect.
Well, I thought natural selection was working when Antonori was voted out of office, but maybe you've got a better idea. So.
I'm not laughing too loud because he was so easy to draw. And last but not least, and most important, is it true you use a flip phone?
I do. I'm very proud of that, you know, because I've got 9 or 10 of them still stockpiled down at the city hall from people who've turned them in, and so I never have to buy another flip phone another phone as long as I live. One breaks, I turn it on, and get a new one for free.
You should be the honorary president
frugal.
of the local nerd movement.
It's being frugal. I mean, do you have 9 smartphones sitting at your home
I do
waiting?
not. I just have one.
Okay, so I've got 9 held in reserve. The taxpayers don't have to worry about me wasting their money.
Well, it was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
And I won't call you because I know you got to handle the flip phone, and that's from.
I'm pretty dexterity is a good thing in my life.
All right, I'll see you at the next Star Trek festival.
Okay, cool.
Thanks for coming in.
See ya.
My guest today has been Councilman Steve Kozachik. This is Dave Fitzsimmons for the Fitz Report.